Hey everyone, it's Adrienne here, the Integrative Healing Coach. How are you doing today? I am just stopping by to say hello. It's been a minute and to share some recent downloads, imprints from the field. And today I'm titling this uh, "The Love Affair with Frequency." So what does this mean? What does it mean to be having a love affair with frequency? And this has been coming up in many different parts of my life. And usually when that happens, that means that I need to share it. So that's what I'm doing. So let me give you some little background, some like context for this love affair with frequency. So life is happening to us. Life is happening. And events, situations, relationships, different things occur. Um, if we are living our life from the orientation of mainly our thinking mind, then our interpretation of those events and those circumstances are going to be filtered through largely the overlay of our story, our past self. And if the ego has anything to do with it, this story was going to be based on a frequency of lack. And so I'm going to say more about that. Uh, what is the idea of lack? Where does it come from? And how is the ego identity constructed from it? So all of us, when we're children, we have a limited perspective of self and the world, and we're learning and we're trying to discover our place, and we use the people, situations, and things around us to help us create a sense of self. Well, often because of our limited knowledge of the world and experience, we take everything personally. And so we begin to create ourselves out of the context of, I'm not enough. And in regards to this, I'm referring to resource, like there's not enough time, there's not enough space, there's not enough, you fill in the blank. So as children, as I mentioned, it's hard to distinguish exactly how the world works. It's difficult for us to distinguish the world from ourselves, and we believe everything is directly related to us, or quote unquote our fault, so to speak. And in the most basic way of me and the world. And so when I say me and the world, that's depending on a level of awareness that a child has, like basic, me, you. Um, and so the adults around us, our childhood environment directly influences and helps us develop our brains, which is our perspective and how we see ourselves and how we see the world and how we relate to the world. And all of the emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual structures that hold us in relationship. They're invisible, we can't see them, they're energetic, and they make a big difference about how we show up and who we get to be in this world. So now we're getting a little closer to the topic of frequency. This world has taught us how to behave largely in order to get our needs met without ever consciously, for most people, articulating that that's what we're doing, that we have needs, and we, besides our physical needs for food, shelter, love, affection, have a roof over our house, over our heads. We also have huge emotional, psychological, and spiritual needs. So often, I would say almost every child that I've met hasn't developed the skill, the linguistic agility and scope to articulate, first identify these needs and then articulate them. So we come up with a story that I have to take care of my own needs. There's nobody else that's going to help me in order to survive on all levels, not just physically. And to one degree or the next, all of us are getting some of our needs met, and there's degrees and there's ranges. So I'm not talking like to generalize this, right? We all have our own particular experience of this. But many of us get conditioned without even being aware of it to suppress our emotions, to not make a big fuss if we don't get what we want. And the inability to find ways to create win-win situations, which would be living from a worldview of abundance and that there is enough. And in fact, there's more than enough for everyone. So when I refer to our thinking mind and the stories that it tells are a product of lack, it's based on all of this conditioning that children currently have as being raised in this world that is largely ill-equipped to address these other layers of our being. And with his earliest sense of self and the perspective that it creates, which is a product of I can't ask for what I need, or I don't even know what I need, because nobody ever asked me or gave me the tools to distinguish the difference between a need, a want, a preference, a demand, and so forth. Or then a lot of us carry a lot of shame and guilt for wanting or needing anything because of the way that we may have been treated or mirrored back on when we asked for something that we wanted or we needed. Because of our own parents' wounding and conditioning. So we're not here to blame parents or caregivers. It's simply noticing the current state of affairs in which we're in love with. So I'm getting to that. Please be patient. It's coming. Okay. So because we don't have this self-awareness or this cognitive or linguistic mastery as young children, and the life experience to understand what we actually need, let alone to be able to ask for it. Our nervous system as a child doesn't have the benefit of these adult problem-solving skills, and we can't see the world objectively. Okay, so that's squared away. So moving on, it's not a question of if we inherited this limited or incomplete way of being or perceiving our being, but which type we received. So let me explain. Unless this energy of our neural pathways, which determine our habitual way of using our life energy, was unconscious, for the most part, installed when we were too young to even choose. If these neural pathways don't get updated as adults, then we continue to act on this autopilot that we inherited of the programs we originally downloaded from the people around us to make sense of the world. Whether these imprints were accurate, effective, or able to meet our needs, we continue to reenact them because it's what we know, it's what feels like home, it's what we've identified with. And so on one level, there's a romance with them. Excuse me. So this happens as I circle back to my original statement. What does it mean to be in love with frequency? So what I'm suggesting to you is that while we are in a love affair with frequency, we're given this palette of possibility, of acceptable energetic melodies or frequencies, so to speak, on a scale. And with those energetic melodies or tunes we were given, we had to use our own imaginative life energy to make it our own, to create it in a way that made sense to us. So while we're given these imprints, we also have some creative agency, and we invested our emotion and our time and our energy and our belief into these imprints and did our best to make them our own. We cried with these imprints. We laughed with these imprints. These imprints sang us to sleep at night when we were lonely. So we believed, we're so intimate with it, right? We believe the frequency is us, to where it becomes our life raft, or our nervous system holds onto it like a life raft, so to speak, because it's a survival mechanism. It is the way we first learned to connect, to get our needs met, not consciously, but best we could. And in this way, the frequency and the conditions that it produces, that we know, that we call ourselves, it feels familiar. It's like home. And even if many times this song, this frequency, this range of tune, being attuned to certain energies, might be incomplete and often painful, they mirror what many people define or attract as a chemical interpretation of being in love. And when I say in love, I mean feeling connected, even if it's a dysfunctional connection, even if it's an incomplete connection, even though it's a way of connecting energetically that is not for my best and highest good. It's the closest thing that I have. And until we began to wake up to the fullest potentiality of ourselves as co-creative beings, and the idea that the field that we live in itself is co-creative, whether we like it or not, that's how we're experiencing the current version of reality that we're living in right now. This love affair with frequency is like an adolescent or immature version of what is possible for ourselves and humanity. And when we attract from this frequency that we've invested and created and curated and identified with, and we get identified with it because we put a lot of sweat and tears and love into that, and we fall in love with it because it kept us company. And when it's time to let that go, because it's time to mature into a more authentic expression of energetic melodies, energetic frequencies that are more nurturing and supportive and let us expand into the greatest and fullest expression of our potentiality, we begin to find, at least how I'm experiencing it at this time, how it's evolving in my awareness is that we get to lay that to rest. And we get to thank it. We get to hold a ritual and place beautiful gifts at its feet, and honey and candles and incense, and thank that frequency for getting you to where you are now. And because you love so much, because fundamentally you are made of love, you are a loving being, it's natural that there comes a time when you're ready to explore greater definitions, more authentic definitions of love in action, first for yourself and then for others. And this means that you get to create a new tune, a new range of energies that are invigorating, that are life affirming. And I'm referring to specifically ways of being that create levels of self-sabotage. They create stuckness, they create moving in circles, because they're based on lack, they're based on fear, they're based on struggle, they're based on not enough, they're based on I can't do anything and I'm powerless. right? Because that's how we were as children. But as children grow and they develop and they mature, and they begin to access agency to the fullest degree, it's like releasing all of those restrictions, all of those old vibrations that have been continuing to move through my life, perhaps unconsciously, and not at choice, but more on autopilot. So that's what I mean by being in a frequency of love. And really, what is authentic love? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your experience on this. I'd love to know if you can relate to what I'm talking about. Maybe you have a different experience or expression of this. And maybe this is just something that you're just hearing about right now, and it makes you consider certain approaches and ways of being in your life that you didn't think about before. Either way, I'd love to hear uh, your thoughts and your reflections in the comments, depending on where you're hearing or listening to um, this live that I'm doing today, this share. And I'm going to wrap things up because I'm on my way out. I'm leaving for the UK this afternoon for part of my field facilitator training. And I'm super excited about going there and participating, learning, and growing, expanding my field of impact. And I will be gone for about 10 days or so, but I'll be back to share lots and lots. And I just wanted to remind you that I am offering two somatic sensing circles, one live on the third Monday of each month. This month coming up, August, is going to be I believe it's the 19th is the third Monday, and it's going to be local in Portland. If you're not local, you can join me on the third Thursday of the month for my online somatic sensing circle. It's at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you can see both of those events on my event page on my Facebook page, and also on Meetup. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And thanks for stopping by and taking a listen. I appreciate your time and your energy. And it's good to see you and to connect. And until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are. And bye for now.